In this video, we're going to be looking at a verbal reasoning question type called word patterns. Some of this material has been taken from our verbal reasoning books, which you can find linked in the video description, alongside a free PDF with 20 questions for you to go and practice after this video. So let's get into it. These questions are about finding the pattern used in the first two sets of words and then using this pattern to fill in the missing word in the third set. So we're presented, let's have a look at this example here. We're presented with stone and tone, slate and late, dream, and then we've got to find this next word. We establish a pattern using these two, and then utilizing that same pattern, we're going to try to solve to find that. So, step one, what happens to stone for it to become tone? So, initially the S is removed. So that's the pattern. So to remove the first letter of the word. Step two, you've got to check the pattern with your second example and see if it still fits. So slate to late. Now, this should follow the same pattern. So you can see here an S has also been removed, and you can see that it works. Sometimes there's examples, and you'll see later, where there could be more than one thing happening. Step three, use the final pattern on the final set of words. So you've got to remove the first letter of the word dream, which is D, and then you get ream, so like a ream of paper. And that is our missing word. So look at this remember point here. The patterns will change. Sometimes you will remove a letter, sometimes add a letter, or you may need to rearrange the letters, like an anagram, according to a pattern. Let's have a look at an anagram example. So this example 2. We've got meal and then lame. And you can see that lame is made from some of the letters in meal. So let's have a look at this example here. It's got meal, lame, teal, late, zeal, and then we've got to work out what's there. So let's just isolate this example. This is how I deal with this. So we've got meal and lame, teal and late, and then zeal, and we've got to find the final example. So what I might do is just by starting by doing 1, 2, 3, and 4 there, just so you can see what happens. And you can see the last letter becomes the first letter. The third letter becomes the second letter. The second letter becomes the last letter. The first letter becomes the third letter. So that will be the new order. Now if you look at teal, we're just going to establish whether it's the same pattern. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 again. And you can see here, 4 becomes the first letter. So that seems to match. A is the third letter, and that goes in second. The first letter, T, becomes the third letter. And then the final letter will be second. So we can assume, as you can see here, they've got the same matching pattern. So zeal will also follow in the same suit. So again, if we were to number that, L would go first, A would go next, because that will be 4 and then 3. And then we've got our first letter coming third, so there it goes. And then we'll have our final letter going in there. And that's going to be second. So you can see this follows the same pattern. It should be lays. And as we see from our example, you can see it's lays. Let's go on to some examples I've written out. We've got grave and then rave. Grave and rave. And you can see the difference between those two pairings is the G. So the G has been removed, or the front letter. If we look here, we've got plain and lane. And again, you can see the P is missing from lane. So if we've got shave, if we take the S off, then it becomes have, like that. Then, let's go on to the next one. So we've got fists, fist and fists. Now this one's, it's going to be fairly obvious what's been added here. We've got an S. We've got cleave and cleaves. Again, we can see an S has been added to the end. So rather than taking away a letter, we've added a letter this time. And then our final one will be game, and then games with an S on the end, like that. So that's, again, two quite straightforward examples, but some of them will be straightforward. Let's look at the next lot. You can see our first letter is a T in this word, so taser, and you can see that it's changed to L. So T has changed to L. In the next one, we've got T's. Oh yeah, and then also an S has been added. I forgot that. So an S here has been added to the end. So we've got T's and then L and S at the end. So again, we've had a T change, so the front T change into an L and then an S being added. So following the same pattern, this T will turn into an L. So it will be lend, but then an S will also be added to the end, like that. So we get tend, lends. In this one, we're again just taking away an S, so it's fairly straightforward. So we've got bend, bends, and bend. You can see here the S is missing from bend. We've got comes and come. So the S is missing from there, and then we've got P's, and that will become P because we've got an S missing. Let's look at a sort of slightly more difficult example. It's an anagram of sorts, but it's actually something that's been switched around. It's a word that's been switched around. So we've got brag becoming garb. So if I were to number these, you can see the G moves to the front, the A comes second, the R comes third, and then the B comes at the end like that. So you can see we've switched every single letter around in reverse order. So we've got sleek, and then keels, and then we've got loop, and you can see if I were to follow that same logic, we'll get pool. Our final one, we've got evil becoming vile. A logic that might work is that the front letter has moved to the back and been taken off. But we've got to check whether that works for our second one. So if you look at scar and care, then if we were to take that and then move it to there, it should be cars, but it's not, it's care. Which means that basically the front letter has been taken off and an E has been added at the end. So applying that same logic, if I take the S off, I get lat. And because an E seems to have been added in each of these cases, I'm going to add an E to the end and I get late. So that's how you deal with word patterns. It's a question type that really just requires you to have good sense of logic. I hope you found that useful. Don't forget you can download the free 20 question PDF via the link in the description, as well as a copy of the full verbal reasoning books. To watch another verbal reasoning video, click somewhere here, and don't forget to like and subscribe.